전이야 같이 패패해야 돼. 방자들이 배시 동이 또 같이 버리 사주는 양샤이시간 동이 무슨 또 같이 버지. 유동번이를 켜내 버리. 갈때 가르쳤으나 집에서 세자디야야 세자. 공대 루브남다기 차지. 라시남다기 차다 루브남다기 차지. 유동번이를 켜내 버지. 다 루브남다기 차스 루브 비티마 세자디야야 패. 네 상계인도 좀 창모디 반두여가. 이년에 지마라 버라림네 반두스 자산 켜봐야 돼. 오늘 공대 스피우스야 돼 되리 다다.
So in the verse 75, when it talks about the visibility grows larger bit by bit, visibility is basically talking about two elements. That because of practicing the wisdom emptiness, and we are really removing the afflictions or the stains gradually, and as we remove the stains and the purity part of the mind, the Buddha nature is increasing. So that visibility is, we're not talking about a light or some brightness. We're talking about the visibility of the Dharmakarya is becoming clearer and clearer as we remove the stains. So the example that here used is if you look at the waxing moon, as the days progress, the first day, the second day, and the waxing, as you know, the moon's becoming clearer and fuller. And the example here, what we take from there is, as the stains are removed or reduced, so the Buddha nature is increasing its quality. So you shouldn't consider that as a light, some kind of projector on a light, but rather talk about a quality of a mind. And from the meditator's point of view, in terms of a meditation on the emptiness, there's no difference because we all meditate on emptiness. But the difference is from the experience point of view is as we engage in the meditation of emptiness, and it's really kind of tackling the gross level of the stance, and then as you continue meditate, it's kind of going from gross to subtle level, and eventually when the subtlest stance removed, then we see the true Buddha nature. The mind is being fully, it's kind of a Buddha nature without a single stand. So these stands are removed by meditating on shunyata or emptiness. 이 유문에 단들 동문이 고미한 데 개발 내죠. 아니
공부했어야 돼.
개발 내죠.
동문이 또 주도전에 공부 내야지.
개발 가 개발.
방자. 사담빈이도 방제. 통반 방거를 봐. 그럼 이번에 이제 공부한들이야. 총중문도 전에 침묵 등에를 봐. 등기도 이제
사리를 가는 지금 동분이 보면 개발 용어라. 근데 동분이 이조로 남인이 검되고 봐. 그 사리를 가는 동분이 검나로 가진데 긴 내지. 이내에 비교 방짓 개발 유스. 사 당국을 내 주무직 가게 뭐. 양산이별 그 주무직.
딜레다 있어. 이내 사담분이 자주배 딜레다 있어. 다 상계 지금 타슈
So sometimes people wonder at different bhumis we meditate on different emptiness concepts, and that is not the case. You still meditate on the true selflessness, the selflessness of person and the selflessness of phenomena. And from the meditation point of view, there's no difference. You meditate on emptiness, but as you progress on your meditation, what it removes, there's a difference. At the first bhumi, it removes certain gross level of stance. And the second bhumi, it maybe remove a little bit less gross. The third level, maybe the subtle stance. And the fourth level, maybe more subtle. So if, in terms of the object, the removing part, there is difference at a different stage of the bhumi. But from meditator's experience or point of view, you still rely on the same meditation. So the same meditation removes the different thing at a different stage. So that's what is the difference.
Sanje chuda kindu rivela tawati
Redol sanje chuda kindu tawon no tembu
da sanje chuda kindu dati ti meju ga sa shebati gebe shebati
ta dongni go ya gebe she or satin na
tanji ge panja pongju chi ba
yo
kasa one kondu phiju chi
yo
어디 페주디 셰발라 돌텐테 개바치베 단데 띵이 띵 돌텐테리 사추 네고스쿠네 고네코네 야피네
다르디 개비 인스
다티 개바텔레 메주게 사셰바세티제 메주게 사셰바세티 다티 자와티티 상게치도 긴둘라 따도 메바 템부이 셈디얀다 게제네 치미도바얀다 냐다 중세티
또 매번 더블 시그스라
메베치베사스 대지인바 메베치베사스지 셰민바 조랑기 네고스 메베치베사스야티
매베주 베사디 말아서 사 당군님 비치는 그 디가 좋아요
말이
여가 로가로
소조니 메주그사시게
매주님부터 선남들을 좋아하는
졸론데 조랑니부터 메주그사시게 다티 전원디 메주그세 디사주나 사트
나봐. So can we read verse 77 please? So in this verse, it's talking a little bit in more detail about how we progress the path and how we make progress in terms of meditating and removing the stand and shining the Buddha nature. In the previous 76, 75, 74, is giving us a kind of a brief explanation and example of how we make a progress. Now from 77, Nagarjuna is going a little bit more in detail, and he started with the dedication. Dedication, sometimes in Tibetan word here is admiration. Admiration, admiring in something, a strong admiration. But here it says dedication. It could be the same meaning. And basically, it's saying that to really engage properly in the practices of the different bhumis, to attain full enlightenment, we really should start with a strong dedication, / sometimes admiration in the path. Dedication is also considered as one of the core trainings in Mahayana teaching. You really have a strong dedication in the Mahayana teachings, a strong dedications in the teachers and so on. So here, the Nagarjuna is saying, first we cultivate. Since the translation uses dedication, I'm going to use the word dedication. If it's not appropriate, correct me. So here I'm saying, first we cultivate a strong dedication in the teacher, the Buddha, and the Dharma, the teaching, and the Sanghas. And by having this strong dedication, it would enable us to really increase our experiences and attainment, and it would not decrease that attainment, but really increase. So dedication is important as part of the practices. Oh.
That is kunjosun miluwe jamne mevatembu kwanes ta ni sanje chota kindula ta tu mevatembu yisiati kunjosun miluwe jamne kunjosun butebe lo mebe jamne ba wadila jamne su mevatembu kwane ni janju chotu semji 소남진에게 서로가 내 남주에 소배 전주에 치면도 도배 줄때 다디 치면도 아니 치면도 봤어야지 녀라나서부터 술을 남도 파 동네 봐 치면도 봤어 주그레스 가래 소남도 잡아니 샤시도 그래 근데 조남기네가 수양다 봉아시 저는 되지 뭐 서버 추조시 여러분. 저는 되기네가 쏟아 야다 포마시도. 되네. 알레티. 저는 되기네가 야다 포마시지. 되네 주주지 감바시지. 공부가 또나 시제. 잠반이 샤시부티 다 소름네 투버리 잠반이 샤시부티 네 양다 봉아 시에리 디처럼 트레네 투 수주지 감바 시에리 디처럼 잠문네 투 공봉아 디처럼 세번네.
In this verse 77 is talking about the dharma of dedication. When we look at the 5 parts, the part of preparation, application, and then the part of meditation, seeing, and normal learning, and so on, we have a 5 parts. And these 5 parts are sometimes divided into different kind of stages. So sometimes the first 2 parts are considered as the practice of dedication, the practice of the dedication dharma, meaning that once you cultivated really strong dedication, which is a part of the preparation and application practices, you then already achieved a unwavering the quality, the unwavering, the doubtless quality in 3 jewels. And because of that, in 3 jewels and in the Mahayana teaching, as as part of the Mahayana practices, you do the preparation, you do the application practices, and once you accomplish these 2, you already cultivated a very strong quality in Mahayana teaching and in 3 jewels. So you will never look back or return to the Hinayana teaching. Because by then you already had a conviction and wavering commitment in Mahayana teaching. So you already passed a number of stages. You are considered as a bodhisattva. You would not abandon the Mahayana teaching and would not go back to Hinayana practices. And you already kind of passed at that level. So when you have that quality, then people say you're on the stage of dedication dharma, meaning you already finished the first 2 of the 5 parts, the preparation and application. And so here in Nagarjuna talks about in this impressive Dharmadhatu, when he talks about cultivating dedication in 3 jewels and the Mahayana teachings, you already done the preparation and application stage of the Mahayana path. So that's what and then people say, why I already got to that the dedication Dharma stage, and then it's because to really reach to this dedication in three jewels in the Mahayana teaching, you've already practiced the for awareness Dharma, the Chenpa Nishi, Chenpa Nishi, the four the mindfulness, abiding, you already done the abandoning correctly of the faults. You also, as part of that's part of the Soglam, the preparation part. As part of the Jorlam, the application part, you already, as mentioned, the abandoned this correctly some of the qualities to be abandoned, and also you have practiced some of the other practices as part of the application part. And so you already done these two. And because you already done these two, you already engage in the practice of dedication. And so you already become a steady Mahayana practitioner. When you reach to this stage, you will not fall back into Hinayana practices. So this is what Nagarjuna is also relating to. Admiration is better, right? Because
it applies to the teachers.
Yeah, I use the dedication because this is what the translation. But usually, it's admiration is corresponding to the five Mahayana paths. Sometimes there's once you. In other translations, basically these five Mahayana paths, they're subdivided into different stages. When you accomplish the first two practices, the preparation and application, and when you accomplish that, and then there's you already reached the admiration quality or admiration Dharma, meaning you passed the first two Mahayana paths. And then here, since the translation uses dedication, then I felt maybe I should follow the translation. But however you feel is more accessible, let me know, and then I'll use that translation for your practice. Okay?
So you say that aspiration is a stage or a path?
No, it's aspiration is in the five Mahayana paths. They sometimes divide. Within this part, they create subcategories. So the two categories, when you accomplished the preparation and application part, and then this is also referred by another term, you reach the admiration quality. Because we have to be very careful in terms of understanding the different contexts for using similar similar illustration. So we have the 10 bhumis. So for that, for our class purpose, I'm only going to use bhumis. I'm not going to do any other words. Just make it clear. We have 10 bhumis, right? And then you have the 15 paths. Among that, the Mahayana, the five Mahayana paths. I'll just say Mahayana path. So this is not referring any other, like steps or bhumis. And then the admiration path, it's better for me to use the word admiration ground. Rinpoche said it's better to consider this as a ground because the ground upon which, if we cultivate properly, it grows other great dharmas or the qualities. So in Buddhist term, they use sa, which is a path or sometimes ground or sometimes step. And then sometimes they use the word lam. Lam is a path. So in a very kind of a broad explanation of the differences between ground and path. So ground, this is also sometimes similar to booming. It's the kind of a basis upon which we develop further qualities. Ground for the Mahayana teaching is compassion and so on. The ground for enlightenment is really to have the selflessness, no doubt, it's like a meditation on selflessness as a ground to attain enlightenment. So ground is more like the foundation, a basis. And then the word sa in Tibetan, which is more pa. Sa is the more like a tool, a resource we rely upon to accomplish something. And following, so in that case, the path is more like the tool, aids, something we use for doing something. So as I mentioned, to keep the concept clear and more kind of simple in this hot afternoon, and I will only use bhumis for the 10 Bodhisattva bhumis. I'm not going to refer to by any other term, so you just consider that's bhumi. For the 5 Mahayana path, I will just use Mahayana path. And within this Mahayana path, when it's divided by the admiration ground, outside ground, the admiration ground include the 2 parts, the preparation part and application part and so on. So is that okay for you, so that you can keep? And also now, as corrected by our venerable, that by our classmate, that maybe we use the word admiration rather than dedication, because the dedication also can be slightly different meaning when we use in other purposes. Admiration, that I will use the term talking about the true application, the application and the preparation. No. So what it is,刚才有人提问的，但是杀猪这些个话，特别的些的咱们这个培育的杀猪这些，养老母啊这些个话，对嘞，的老母人弄到呢，养老都缺些个，没别缺的就晓得吧，这些。아니 디가 저 단정가 그냥 삼삼이야 디지기 모두가 등기 때도 아직 지금 용서 가서래 지금 가라서 녀모 파도 세도 좀 봐. 양지 사대래 가서래 담보지 안에 대 라번에 하지기 돼야 참을려 줘야죠 봐. 대도 좀 봐. 다 가르갈래도스는 아주 빼셔야 내가 아닙니다. 이제 세부치는 주영부터야 디베셔고 봐. 그러나도 딱 가서라 사 당군에. 딱 인도도 봐. 내 코이게 님은 주영을 줘 봐. 사줄래셔 이마 봐. 세두자마 딱 세부치부터 마셔도 이래저 따다자.
알레 두시자야.
디메디자마 대에서 안 출발을 전 세부주영에 그도 있다가 나와디 사주. W
산게 있었지.
산게 사도 봐. 딜러 두자마 세부주영에서 님은 주영을 세부치려 사직장 따다 주면
두시자야.
잘하면 또 곱빼져요 저도.
네. 체진에 뒤에 체중에 뒤에 봐. 다 체진에 체중에 받으려야.
사당은 요 잘합니다.
사당불에 방제 차려면 부반이야 여러 봐. 이게 두시야 저 방제 라바티게 빵빵빵 아니 디디 제가 중에 딘다와 딘청바 상기주 고만 토인데 방제 탐제 세버려 봐. 세버디.
제 주영애님들 주영 방제 사업 또 상계 고만 톱 사업 디디 뭐로 어떤 세
까부티 두시야 사제를 리마리 두시야 야마.
지금 뭐
야마리.
근데 세부 주틀레도 삼바 사주도 사업. Yes, I also asked Rinpoche because when I was reflecting to this Nagarjuna's illustration of waxing moon versus the bhumis, and so by the time we get to the 10th bhumi, it's only the 10th day, right? So it's to me it's not appropriate to apply these bhumis per day. So it's just a kind of general example. and the first day being the starting, the first booming, and Rinpoche advises us when we think about this progress in the path, do not think from the first day to the 15th day as like increasing. Look at from gross to subtle level. Say, at the first booming, we're really getting the most gross level of affliction and ignorance. And then in the second booming, maybe the grosses become a little bit less gross. And then, from the gross to the subtle level, and applying that to the 10 boomings. So starting with the first booming, you're dealing with really the most gross afflictions. And the 10, you already remove even the subtlest affliction. And so you're totally, empty, or the totally devoid of any affliction in your mind stream. And this is when you attain enlightenment, which is the reaching to the 10 boomings, right? And this, like the total, the absence, the absence, which is a better word, the total absence of affliction is example for a full moon. When you see the full moon, there's no stains, no kind of shadows, nothing is kind of obscure. It's so clear, so full. Likewise, once we reach to the 10th booming, we tackle the most subtle affliction. So in that kind of the quality of the Buddha nature mind, and you really have no stains of affliction. And the example is a full moon. But do not really correspond to the days. Then you have a problem. And then I had asked further questions, because sometimes I'm also following different examples, the models. And so in this context, the boomies we're talking about, there's a slightly different. And my mistaking, I apologize. And from the first to the 10th boomings, you have removed all the afflictions, both gross and subtle. That's as I explained. But you still, at the 10th booming, you still have not attained enlightenment yet. And the total attaining of the enlightenment is on the 11th booming. This is because on the 10th booming, you have removed all the afflictions, both gross and subtle. But you have not attained the cessation yet. If the seed is still there, the imprint of the afflictions, most subtle, are still there, even 10th booming. An example that Rinpoche gave, because of my ignorance, Rinpoche said that when you use crushing garlic, what is it, the boiled and not, or you can say garlic press. And so you using the garlic press, and you take away the garlic from the garlic press. When you look at it, say, is there garlic? You say no. But still, you smell the garlic. The imprint's there. Likewise, at the stage of the 10th booming, you removed, including the subtle affliction. That's what I also told you, right? You already removed. But still, the stain is there. Stain is the smell, like imprint. Maybe stain is better, because stains also affliction sometimes. So the imprint's there in the 10th booming. And so you're not still totally enlightened yet. But when you really move the imprint, and this is where you get the 11th booming, then you totally attain the enlightenment. So if you wanted to define what is, how you describe enlightenment, you have to say you removed both the affliction and its imprint. And so in terms of meditating on the selflessness, and you have meditated the selflessness of both person and of phenomena. But still, the 10th booming, you have the imprint of the potencies, and you remove that, and then you get to the 11th bhumi in which you attain the total enlightenment. Is this a little bit clearer? Yeah.
So,
So I correct here saying the full moon, the full waxing moon. Maybe we should consider like 11th bhumi. 10th bhumi, you have no stain, no afflictions, both gross and subtle. But the imprint, is still there. But once you go further practices and you attain full enlightenment, it's like the waxing moon, the full moon, in which no both gross and subtle levels of affliction, and also no imprints left there too.
다들 밥에 싸주디. 다들 사 랍도 가와스. 다들 다 지게버티에 있는 사람도 싫어. 산이바 사순바 사시바 다디시리 다디사 나베체니 영반에 가베시니 여순데 이제되니 니에도가 가와시니 니 넘버주스 다디 사르 사담부럽도 가와세디 티시 this 사주유가 다단지 다사 담부럽도 가와세디 가베치 나베치 용수반에 기타 나베치세디 미게와세
이거 무슨 디나 디시고모로 딘지시고모 봐.
딘지 대신에 다 딘지스는 네 자니 자외님은 주디셔인데 디나 자니 주디 셔나 디게 강게 디나는 다니 뭐 용으로 봐. 자외 디나라 자외님 뭐 주부디 통바인스가 딱 이제 토는 기능 그 스파야디 이게 어떻게 본 거야? 통방 근데 너무 근다시에 되네. 그래서 다 토는 기능 사담부터 다 특별치미 토는 토는 되게 가래 번기에서는 나베 미게 외출 연습한 거지. 가부길에 출신 비엘에 제받았어. 라도 송내다. 주인공 숨도 도와지. 다디가서 동반이 동공 숨도 도와리. 사담부터 이제 제전에 라도 가와스. 동반이 동공 숨도 또배 가와 예바 인사 살 담부럽도 가와스. 다디가서 사담부터 시에.
And then, as Nagarjuna explained, now I'm going to explain you the 5 bhumis in detail. And the verse 78 talks about the first bhumi. Can you please read verse 78?
The 4 meaner deeds have been relinquished, and the 4 better deeds have been embraced. Just then is that myth definitely realized. This is what the joyful thoroughly signifies.
And so Nagarjuna is explaining us the 5 bhumis in great detail. And the first bhumi is also known by supreme joy. Sometimes they say instead of a number, but supreme joy bhumi, which is equal to first bhumi. Why is the supreme joy bhumi? In this bhumi, you already abandoned the unwholesome deeds. You also attained the wholesome deed. And at the same time, you realized emptiness. And having realized emptiness is such kind of joyful experience because it will kind of prevent you from falling into negative realms or the deeds. And so you get this kind of a very exciting experience and a huge relief. And thus, when we talk about the first bhumi, we also refer it to as a supreme joy, the bhumi of the supreme joy. And the 사당구디나래도 the verse 7 to 9. Please, can you read it?
这下拿手
Constantly desire of rest, wherein is no free of law pure. And this is what the saying signifies.
And this verse is talking about the second bhumi. And this is also known by a stainless bhumi. So in this bhumi, basically we have removed all the stains, especially the stains of attachment, desire, and so on. These are all removed and become the mind streams already become pure from the stains. And as you know that when we look at the 10 bhumis, and then when you look at the 5 Mahayana paths, from the second bhumi until the 10th bhumi, we're still talking about the path of meditation, right? And you know that. And in the path of meditation, it's divided again into 3 kind of sections: the big, the medium, the small. And so these like big, medium, small is basically equivalent to the most gross one becoming the big, and then the medium is little less gross, and then small being more subtle. And at this stage of the path of stainless, you already accomplish removing the most gross level of affliction in the path of meditation, in the Mahayana path. And so Rinpoche is saying, in this second bhumi, you already removed all the stains in your mind stream. But I wanted to check again. Rinpoche, 먼저 질문에서 줘봐. 이거 그다 단지 산입이 되거든요. 또 너무 상물로 빵 잡았어. 빵 잡. 이모 되게 질문 세버서.
정말 내세야지. 이모 친구친구.
친구친구.
너무 친구친구가 되면이다. 산입에 가서 이모 받고 고치려와. 라고는 친구친구지. 남부지.
라쇼도
라쇼도
네.
방법이 산지만 내가 아니 제주기
가르쳐
제주 산입에 가서 출연이 던지 진짜 사탐불라 준비 빠진 양내 산입에 출연이 빠진 양내라 그러라 취재기 지만 내가 예산 지만 내세 등이 그래도
즉 라버트 방토지 이부터 취재기 주면
뒤에 예산 지만 내가 세 산입에.
And so I ask you Rinpoche again, in this bhumi, have we accomplished removing all the afflictions? And Rinpoche said yes and no. In terms of the most gross level of affliction, yes, we have removed the most gross level of affliction. And because we already removed the gross level of the affliction, we become stainless, and therefore is referred to as a stainless. Also, you remember that in the first bhumi, when we think about the perfections and applying these two corresponding bhumis, and in the second perfection, the perfection of a discipline, which correspond to the second bhumi. The second perfection is corresponding to the second bhumi, and in that. Now, having accomplished, really the observing all the discipline, and we become, really totally mastered in our discipline, we will no longer fall into breaking disciplines or the fault of breaking vows. And therefore, sometimes there's a stainless bhumi also, corresponded to the second perfection, the discipline. Because now we totally remove the gross level of affliction, and with that we would not kind of go back and repeat, creating the same gross level of affliction. And that we become mastered with discipline, like equal to having strong discipline. You wouldn't go to misdeed. And so the second bhumi and the second perfection is kind of almost equal from that side. But as I mentioned, Geshe-la said, we're talking about the most gross level of affliction that we have tackled in the second bhumi. So,
다사순바 외치바 디미 녀모티마 라가네스르베
so Nyumun Chawa Reb Gagnes,
녀모 저 랩가네 디미 이시 랩세와 체메바이 멤버다 세월 집에 외치바우스 아디 사순바 외치바세디 공바 담비는 뭐 가네 정말 매버디 삼이 이시기 시럽 럭투세 코아토마 매버 기도메 스미 공바 침비
And this verse is talking about the third bhumi. And the third bhumi is also known by the illuminating bhumis. And why is illuminating bhumi? Because in these practices of a bhumi, we are able to illuminate the darkness of the many countless sentient beings. Through removing the ignorance or the mistaken views, you really replace them with wisdom. And so wisdom is like considered as a light, and ignorance as a darkness. So through the meditation on emptiness and so on, we're removing the ignorance, the darkness, and then it's increasing the wisdom, which is the illuminating. And so this path is also known by path of illuminating. In this, as you know, that in the five paths, we are at the stage of the path of meditation. And the path of meditation is divided by three major subgroups: the most gross one, and then the medium gross one. And so this is like we are removing the kind of the medium level of gross, medium gross of affliction. So Rinpoche divided this into the 9 subtle categories of a meditation path, and which is a little bit confusing here. So I'm not going to talk by one. I'm going to revisit it. I'll ask Rinpoche question again and see how we can apply these 10 bhumis later to the 9 subgroups of the application. So if we try to follow this now, it's become really hard. Is it okay? Yeah. So I think if we try to go to the the 9 different stages of the path plus these, and sometimes there's this in between, you come up with the questions, and then it's a little bit harder. So I'll concentrate on the booming part now, but I'll ask question and then try to put this into. Is it okay? And so the third booming is known as illuminating booming. It's self-explanatory in the translation. It's kind of illuminates the darkness. The darkness here, I asked Rinpoche, what should we consider the darkness here? Rinpoche said just consider ignorance as a darkness, and the light is equal to wisdom. So, 이 가래에서는 콘솔리아 단데 이 사주도 제시하게 단데 Rinpoche 제시 세브시 차이 운동한 데는 말 사례리 신은 더 사수수기 제보다 되게 단데 단은 아주 고함람기 침배 중 자한도 혼자 건반 침배 됐어 다 이부터 침배 딩데
이백이 침배 딩디 봐
다단도 숨부터 침배 중
침배 중
됐어요. 디니 혼자 걸리지 되게 됐 녀석도 응기대. So yes, I ask Rinpoche again to how do we apply this to the 5 Mahayana path? And Rinpoche said the emphasis here is what we are abandoning is not that do not pay attention on the path, but the object to be abandoned. If you think that way, then it's more clearer. So as you know, that from the first boomings until the 10th boom, from the second boomings to the 10th booming, we already talking about the path of meditation, right? So you just basically have to, draw a kind of chart. You have the part of meditation, and the part of meditation is divided into three sections: the large, medium, small. You got it? And then under the large, you have the large, medium, large, small. Same thing, you have the medium, large, medium, small. Then you have a small, the large, small, medium, small, small. So it's become 9, the abandoning. So they're not a part. The 9, object to be abandoned. 9, maybe for our purpose, if it's not too much, we just said afflictions, right? So the 9 levels of afflictions we have to abandon, right? So now basically we end up having this 9 and the abandoning, 9 abandonings. And so the large becoming the most gross, and the small being the least, the most subtle one. Is this clearer if I explain like this? Because usually we memorize the root text, so we just blah blah blah. But then explaining here sometimes, so these like 9 abandonings. Now we have to apply this to the 10 boomings, right? 10 boomings, and so the first booming is the large, right?
First or the second?
Second. The second.
Of second boomings, there's two side. The 산이분의 뒤로가 다른 공감. Yes. 공방.
공감들이 산이부터
공방 또 방지되게.
방제들이 공방.
So now we have to.
공감.
So we have to now basically draw from the 10 boomings and corresponding to each of these subsections. And the second booming become the large. The 산이부디 먼저 공방 the 침벌인가. 산이부디. And then if you're starting from that, and then can you correspond them according to the boomings and these abandoning, and then it's clear. Is this better?
Yeah, it's better.
그 인도 잠바 따대 세브차스 네 혼자 당고대 딜러인다 아주 공방 구시 첨별에 좀 이거 충분도 직시 따디 인간도 단데 산이번에 자주죠 산이부터 어디 첨별체 사슴부터 첨별 징체 사슴부터 첨별 충분도 자주 담아 grup도 용거 따다는 아주 좋아지게 했어 아주 충분죠 봐 충분히 내주 잠바 사주부체
사주부터
그럼
방주 잠반은 산지 사투.
방산도 상겼어. 그 충분히 방서도 잠바 사주지 더 사고. 저는 어렸어요. 어디 뒤도 양자지. 근데 다들 세부 차서. 아니 혼자디 건반디게 구시에니. 건반 구디 아니 단도 산이분에 맞아 아주 지대. 그래서 어디가 단지 제거도 대박 맞아서 저거지 있으니. 노선대 세부 차서.
네. 다디와 들래.
뒤로서当저 순부친 사송아 왜 지었어? 다사 시부디입니다. 왜 지부디 사순부로 와?
예.
지금 왜 지부디다?
孙不起。
今天讲课
这里头大多大概为第三十九级。
大多这个。
그래요. 다도 다배 위에 있어요. 돈도 넘버 방법이 있어.
어디 다도 대사 시바 다도 이시 위에 있어요. 돈지 넘버 방법이 이시 계랍 거래 사대 出见的，这但是啥西北出现的，啥的出见的就是些广巴前边定number 大概一些月的时间呢，它的赛行广巴前边从它广巴前边从东京上的。准备一系列的入国的二出的出境呢，第二个研究生吧，出境去入的这第二点的啥的，你不是不是二出境写的，希望二出写吧，到底啥希望二出写的下。大多一些个月的，是吧？对这那不是帮吧？一些个月的，他过来啥的，帮着到底啥200个数，啥200个数，啥300个数吧？帮着前边定帮吧，吧？加上我们前边定那不是。大概一些个月的时间呢，嘛这个赛形式，我们把穷东京写的，东京number 帮把写的，我们把穷的家，我们把穷的把钱不穷，的西北的，东京帮的准备一些个月的，让都过的是，到月初啊，因啥，你啥西北月初啊是。东京那边帮写的，东京写的，恐怕前边穷，你准备一些个，入都过来，月初啊，因啥，你30个月初啊是。
东京的，可能是这些个。
东京写的，恐怕前边穷东京。这张东京写的，这张东京写的，农业中那种，东京写的，东京的那写的，都啊东京吧，他当地的东京写的，恐怕前边穷的下。定准备一些个的出啊银啥，30个月出啊是。
Can we read verse 81, please?
Seek the light which shines on every side. This moon has its
And this bhumi, the fourth bhumi, is also known as a radiant bhumi, because it basically removes the affliction at the stage of the large small, and once you remove that affliction, and wisdom shines. As a result, this is called the radiant booming. And then I asked Rinpoche, when it's talk about the removing the Ndunzi in Tibetan, and which is kind of Dunzi is again can be applied to affliction at the level of the that booming is removed. So we are talking about afflictions from most gross to the most subtle level. So the gross at the we are talking about the large small, right? The large small abandoning affliction at that level of the gross is removed, and as a result, wisdom shines from that kind of wisdom shines, having removed that level of the affliction, and so this part is also known as radiant booming. Oh, Jesus.
다들네 디워디 리다 규제세들베
Oh, real. Can you read that? You so name
다 상가바 장가와세티
Oh.
리다 규제소네 그 상대 넘버 나조니 무신도 장가에 넘버게 장가 되지서 현재도 리베네라 당 규페 페바다 소네라 수베 규제 페바다 스네 소네라 수바는 자와 제바스 사미게 상대는 수바티 상대 시가 응연바라 주바 뒤지절도 주지 장가와 공바 딩기 전부 정신 이 넘버 계획소스 다티 사 나바들 장가와세요 그래서는 장가야디 응용도 공부 딩기 전부 다단데디 공부 딩기 첨부제 딩제 첨부 충수부디 사 니바지 손바지 시발 방법인바 다 상가바디기 공반 딩기 첨부디 장가와서야지 장가야디 가서 공반 딩기 첨부디 방바스 장가와 공반 딩기 첨부 좀시 띵 넘버를 개회 텔레 넘버 개와지바에서는 사주가 장가와서 이철 장가와 시작했어. 다디리샤.
이든데 리다 규제 손에 군 3대 넘버 나서 있으니.
다디 리당세디 나라지 리베네 여러바 리베네가 세야딘디 여러바.
요래.
리베네디다. 아니 소이네 여러바.
요래.
소리 바시야로.
요래.
어다 규제를 세야디. zel soinela subatida 자와지
사리가블 되게 체토고 있어.
자와지기 야레스 아니 사미기 상대나 수바티 상대실라 데 사미기 상대나 수바시 상대실라 상대 당분이가 숨바시발라 냠바르 주기 뒤지저도 뒤지저를 주징스 어때 디리시 장가와 통바 딩기 전부 좀에 나버겨스
Verse 82, please.
Crafts and master here, arrange and meditate on themselves, and make life difficult to purify completely, so difficult to overcome is this thing.
The verse 82 is talking about the fifth booming, and the fifth booming is also known as a difficult to overcome booming. The booming is of overcoming difficult or something like that. Sorry. Because in this booming, you already abandoning the afflictions at the level of the medium large. In the, when you look at the five path, it's a medium large kind of level of the affliction is removing. And once you're able to remove that, you can master, in the crafts, you become kind of master in all kinds of meditative concentrations. When we talk about the meditation stage, there are 4 meditation stages in other texts. And at this in this practice, in this level of the booming, we are really mastering some of the most difficult meditative concentrations. And so we are able to overcome this difficult, task. And therefore, this is called the difficult to overcome booming. You already removed the afflictions in these, so that you're already attaining some of the kind of a high level of concentration, mastering, a lot of kind of art, craftsman, and other skills. So this is the 5th booming.
다 디오디들을
이거에 전주 넘버 순부탕 수순석 군주와 기다리고 세우탕
다 두바 먼저 들어왔어. 두바 사두바 먼저 들어왔어. 디셔바가 두바 먼저 들어와니 제주 넘버 순부탕 표순 초근 들어와당 예전지다 세바가 사두는 들어가고 다 시진의 때에 태버숨기 자주 숨당스 다 자주 숨당스야디 태버짐비 자주 네 니두기 자주 라이기 자주 티징기 자주 숨체 제dengi 표순 초바 그 양대기 출신도 있어 다사 두배가서 제dengi 표순 초바 탐제 양대기 출도 다지 니두기 자주 라이기 자주도 소 양대기 출긴데 쓰고다 지다 자주 숨부티 니두기 자주도 그런 길 야마르바 양대기 출긴데 제dengi 표순 초바 그 양대기 출긴듯이 저러 저런 긴지 매장 군주도 군주 간네 개발 집하다 또가와 사베트 모두 교신 공부 진기진 좀배 두 번도 교와 다디 장주 숨세야디 년도기 장주제 rangi chanjuje sangi chanjuje chanju sunumsje 표순 초바 신지dengi 표순 초바 탐제이 도싱세디 사주베가 순지dengi 표순 초바 탐제 사주베 내가 순 도아인스 양대가 주긴 템바인스 도아인스 깨다 집아 세바라스 다 되는 긴지 매자 군주도 긴지 제 집에 집한테 또 볼까 삼매 모두 교신은 스타디 되는 긴지 매자 된든 군주도 긴지 군주도 계정네 집한테 다 되는 담바리 긴지 야 말이지 군주도 제 담는 집어라 근데 뭐 간제지네 다란 주 담는 집어라 계지 담부티 까마 나한테 까마 담부 까마니 베거스 까마 담부티 시게 담부 메테베 챘네 집도라 다지다 되는 담바티 긴지 야 말이지 이내양 군주도 라주점이 집에 취진도 그거에서 예단 집에 세바라 사등문도 교바우스 개반 집에 또가 사면도 문도 교시 the Jibatis, the Dirisha. Tokawa Summit, Modicuas. That's such a big of the sheriff departing in Yamel Habatobayasa. Tokawa Summit, Modicuas.
When you are talking to Dutch group.
Jada, Modicuas, Tokas at Jibari. Sheriff departing Yamel Habatoba. Somebody to Modicuas. 다 공부 딩기 딩 좀 봐봐. 어때?
Verse 83, please. So in verse 83, it's talking about the sixth bhumi. And so when you attend the sixth bhumi, and basically this is also called the direct manifestation bhumis, because at this level of attainment, you're already kind of able to abandoning the afflictions, much more kind of subtle than the first, the fifth bhumis level. So you're already tackling quite subtle the afflictions. As a result, you're able to really see you're able to see the emptiness of birth and death. You already kind of realized that in ultimate reality there is no birth, there is no death. And then at the same time, at a conventional level, and you starting seeing the things, like arise and then that disappear. They're strongly connected. As soon as something arises, it's also started disintegration. And you see that because you realized a certain level of emptiness. And because of that, you start seeing seeing the perfections in conventional manner, because in ordinary beings, when you see something arises, you think it's truly arising, and when something dissolves, you believe kind of a truly dissolving. But now we already practiced bhumis, and we already attend up to the sixth level of bhumis, in which we're already manifesting the emptiness. And because of that, you see the integration. As soon as something integrated, you start seeing as disintegration as well at the same time. Remember, use the example of the time. Like, when your time breaks into hours, then into seconds, and then even much, subtle than that. And you see that. When you see something, appears, as soon as you see that, you're also seeing it's disintegrating so fast. And so that because you're manifesting some kind of the emptiness realization. And because of that, it's bringing the three enlightenments, the hearers, the solitary realizer, and the other types of enlightenment is already being accomplished, because you already started seeing the disintegration of the phenomena, the cracking on the sense of grasping. And when you're able to do that, you're also gathering all the wonderful qualities of the here use the perfect, the qualities in Tibetan translation called the Pusum Tso Kundua, the Pusum Tso the Jidembe Shay Kunzo Kunzo
지된데 필요서 봤을때 아주 수수기물도 좀 봤어야지.
But
지된에 내가 생각 봐봤어요. 지된 봤을 때 수수기물이 이 표선 저 같은지 양대가 주기
yeah, there's also.
그럼 언제를 했지. 그런 길이 매네야. 이걸 언제가
So, tub is.
이
Tub is in the tub.
네가 대다기 그거지. 지댕이 이 표선 저거 근데 지네 뒤 그것도 수 공부도 그 유튜브에 알아. 지댕 표선 저것도 수 그런 길이 매네. 이그 그거 간 거도 그런 유튜브
Tutu in there.
that is the such to make us to the Shitarana Kevas and the Lungu to the Kevas. Should have seen and should have kept them. Then the Lungu to the Kevas, the Shitarana Kevas. Some Sujela. Lungu to the Yambashaba Kevas.
Kevin.
that is 사주가 시럽 빠진 양면 하고 돌아봐. 이 시럽들電子타라를 캐리 시럽.電磁の順のとで캐리 시럽. 어디니 시럽을 하고 시럽 시야래. 우리 캐비 예산다. 지dembe 푸스도 간 걸로 프랑기 간지지 지댕 푸스도 간지지네 되게 그 지댕 푸스도 저기 되는지야 돼 프랑기 뒤를 매네야 수비인데 제투야 봐
Chetu.
일단 내가 틈바디 제 내가 냠바 제투야 봐 자사 양대가 주셔야 돼 연대가 양대가 주기 주셔야 돼 두수 거바 간 걸로 지dembe 연대도 수 그런 뒤에 매네야 그런 게 지dembe 연대도 수 거바 두수 간가 그런 게 주투야
So, in this Bhumi, basically you already attaining and the manifestation or the realization of the part.
파지 주임바
No.
사당불의 진배 파지 하바 제임바 사두벌의 시럽 파지 냠을 하바토 근데 시럽 먹지기 캐버 토버 디데스 디에서 지댕기 수수도 강가로 그런게 양대가 주 토스 그거 같이 지댕 수수도 간대 주네 디그 거 같이 사 주백값을 진입이 그랬다 지댕 수수도 매네야
Sotu was.
라
Maybe to some different. So, because I asked Rinpoche why that in the sixth Bhumi that we are able to attain all these wonderful, really aspect of both the enlightenment as well as the worldly gains. When I read the text in Tibetan, it gives me the impression of when you attain the sixth Bhumi, you're already attaining a lot of the enlightenment aspect of the qualities. At the same time, you're also attaining a lot of worldly gains as well. So I thought maybe I'm a little bit confused and asked him again, and he said that that's correct. Because you remember, when we apply the 10 bhumis to the 10 perfections, the sixth perfection is the perfection of wisdom, right? And this perfection of the wisdom is also the sixth bhumi. So you already mastered on the perfection of the wisdom. And because of that, you already gained, already mastered the three aspects of the enlightenment. You already attained the hearers, the hinayanas, and then the solitude realizers, right? And you also attain the enlightenment. So in the sixth booming, you already becoming incredibly kind of the realizer of the some of the subtle levels of affliction, and because of that, you attain all this enlightenment aspect, as well as you're able to gather some of the worldly gains, although you don't possess it, not in your kind of a mansion that you possess it because you have no longer attachment, but because of your power, when you need to produce these worldly gains for the benefit of the sentient beings, you have that quality in that level of a mastery. Because it's the sixth booming is equal to the sixth perfection, the perfection of the wisdom. So can we have a break now for 10 minutes, and we regroup at 4:45, right? 마주감 쭉 이야기하시면 돼요.
그래.
그렇죠. 다들 실업까지 덮사고 싸주거든.
네. 냠내 하바도 지난 실업까지 사담을 냠내 하바도 사담을
내내 먼저 이제 좋아하실래 예수대. 먼저 이제
I was hearing several people, along with myself, wondering about, are at these different 9 levels of gross to subtle affliction, is there a main affliction that's being reduced, like attachment, or are there specific details of different afflictions at different levels that are removed, or both?
그렇지. 단들 먼저 이 공방 구치에 뭐가 공방도 방지 부대. 대신에 챔피언의 미국하고 충분히 좀 맞다지 라고네 차도 봐. 방해하기 지난 명문 차단 시고를 양직 되자 주고 시고를 님은 주고 시고를 같이 시고를.
어디 방금 너무 그런 뜻이야.
님은
근데 딘지디 잡아도 그만 불용으로 와.
상 이나 상을 시고를. 또 딘딩이 딘
거기와 맞춰서 참고 공부한테는 너무 강가야 돼. 통반면 쉬어지고 강바 이해할 때나.
in this the 9 9 part, right? Many the 9 part of the stages. We are talking about all kind of afflictions, including self-grasping. Basically, it doesn't really specify a single affliction. It's talking about from a gross level to most subtle levels of all kind of afflictions, including the self-grasping.
답변에 있는 딘지 또 쳐진 딘지를 지고는 딘지 전부 진 중수제. 딘지 전부들의 전부 딘 전부 중수 어두스제. 딘지를 꽂고 치는.
And if we take the example of a self-grasping mind, and we can, divide them into 3 main categories: the large, medium, small, right? The large, medium, small level of self-grasping, and then you can divide them further by the large, medium, large, small, medium, large, medium, small, large, small, medium, small, of self-grasping mind.
So that applies to all afflictions then?
Hmm?
That delineation applies to all afflictions?
Yes.
I see.
So we just use the example. If you wanted to take an example of a specific affliction, Rinpoche gives example of the self-grasping mind. Let's say you're tackling the self-grasping, most gross level to the most subtle level. And you create 9 basically divisions. And the large being the most gross level to the small level of the self-grasping being the most subtle. Sure.
But at the beginning, it seemed that as long as you're focused, continue to focus on understanding or meditating on emptiness, all these afflictions would fall away, right? It's not that we're focusing on undoing the afflictions. It's a continual focus, if I heard you right, on meditations on emptiness, and as that becomes more and more subtle, from gross to subtle, the gross to subtle afflictions fall away. Is
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay.
The Quran this word, that and the nearly Rumbuchi this one songs. Marazo Tombani Yamishir Kabia. And the Kanda Tombani Tap or Chikwamba Kabia, and your more Rapone, and Rapo Janet, want to dismove Dinzini, and the Chinese or Kanzata made the church, I made the Kwamba Kabia. Jiggy and Kwamba Kabia, that Dinzin, Rapone, and Kili, at that time, Tam of the sad with this soon. And that you don't when you come, you do something, click on the sad with us.
Nidia ko domani to be Lodia Gumbi Chinsana. And the Dingy Rapa to see. What did it?
No. Yes, and when you meditate on emptiness, and as your meditation progresses, then it starts tackling from a gross level of a self-grasping, or in this case, the self of a person and the self of a person, the gross, and as you continue your meditation, you're progressing, and then you're tackling from the gross level until the most subtle level of self-grasping as you continue your meditation on emptiness, and that's correct. Then there was this gentleman. Yes, you have a question, right? You, sir.
But let him ask you.
I was just saying, so that's as a byproduct of meditation on emptiness as opposed to concentration on the afflictions. That's what you're saying. That's what Rinpoche is saying.
I'll ask him. And the don't you grumble dinner. And the Kandaji, Dinzing, Rapone, Jamakili, Tamok, the Kandaji said, what? Din do some dinner, let Dinzingo say and do some jig. Numo to the shadow conduct, Numo Chitala, Pagom Moshe. Chick Danzikura and Gom to Numo and that to the Chitala, shadow said, yes.
The Tamito should have said, Mukanga in Yambore. Purchase and a quote to Dingy in Yambuti, Mushangi in Yambuti. Dingy did Mushangi that. Tower of Jirava. Could my jump to the Mushan to Suta? Is in my shum to be a day.
Yes, only when we meditate on the selflessness of a person and the phenomena, and when you meditate on this using the meditating on selflessness of the two subjects, then the tackling the other affliction is a byproduct, because, and as I explained to you before, the grasping on self is the really root and the basis of all other afflictions. But when you really tackle that, the source, which is the grasping on the self, and when you kind of disintegrating it by meditating on emptiness, by relying on the wisdom of selflessness, and when that really directly start attacking the selflessness, and then as the selflessness is a kind of being attacked and being disintegrated, as a byproduct, other afflictions such as attachment, anger is all being tackled alongside. So it's a byproduct.
I've been a conversation, convenient with the chamber, Magumbache, Tombani, 콘도 계속 유디 라신 내버렸지. 이게 란디 배 콘도 계속 유디 배지 송두네. 근데 콘도 계속 유디 내지 내버지면 유디 내 선발지. 라시메로 따왔던 그 콘도 시야를 띠임으로 잠밤만큼 제띠 겁나네. 또 치워야 지다.
Yes, I can give you an example. When we wanted to tackle anger, usually the antidote of anger is meditating on loving kindness or compassion, right? But instead of meditating on that, and if you meditate on emptiness, it also works. For example, if you start thinking that that object of the anger itself is not intrinsically exist, right? If you're getting angry at a person, rather than meditating on loving kindness, but you really direct your meditation on that object, a person, and really start looking at that object like an intrinsic nature. That object is dependent on so many conditions and factors that object really is absence of essence, the absence of like a pinpoint. And as you keep your meditation on that, and then it start dissolving your anger, because there is no object for the anger to apply to, and so it works on the anger, didn't it? Of course, we meditate on loving compassion as antidote to anger. But if you really wanted to go to even more deeper than that, meditating on emptiness is much more powerful. Sure.
So the description of these 10 bhumis, or 10 to 2 to 11, I guess, or 2 to 10, is descriptive. That is, it's just describing what process is being gone through as opposed to a process to follow. The divisions between large, medium, and so forth don't seem to provide any guidance other than describing what process you're going through as you continue to meditate on emptiness. Is that accurate?
I'll ask him. 저는 인간도디 주인들변하려 위에 따뜻한 사주 대세인 거가 사주도 대세인 경도 잠바 르무치게디 공방 오골려 자유도 그런데 지금 조르디 되네도 와 그런저 산이분에로 봐 산이분에 마도 이제 자유도 잠바 그 디나야 지금 나라도 곰 geb단 걸 계시금도 디나야 저 가래서는 사 단골이야 톱지 된데 요래스 디 공방 장 방지들이 아니 그 대세게 것도 디르베스 대세들도 디르샤스 그래서 어디 터비는 라일야 간다 지금 디나야 계주 된데 요래 거기 랑지들이 tor지들이 무슨 지금 곰 된데스 겹제 비 랑지들 내용으로 되면도 디르베스
레다 곰제 디다 단지디 곰세 디다
공단의 책임도 사주고 문규치단 마셔죠. 사주고 dinero 샤스 제시해지 샤스.
이제 사주고 dinero 사니버 바제면은 남주남 신이야레. 토메 바제면은 네 남주남 제니 다 토메 바제면은 되게 사디데디 냠부티지게 공바디 냠부 이 다밀 지지 냠바샤니 냠샤기 되겠어 다밀 냠바샤 아니 제도 지내겠어 아니 그래서 그래 사디데디 공바디 방바디 투비래 지리 냠샤기 되겠어 냠샤는 것도 중수 제도 중마다 중수스티 사레레 강글로리아리스
공단도 시고
냠샤기 내려서 공단 제도 지내겠어
디고 로가시 모두 다른 디나리아 디고 공단도 마시지 님부도 몰라죠. 그 내단 시행고 제시해서 디르베 주인들은 말이야.
단다 사기 그 자셰 시리에 사 당부 사당부 Timamela, Sadambu, Sanibab Timamela, some Sadambu to cover Sertiva. You take Jata Juni to wear it, Sadambucus. Then I take Jata Juni to wear it. Kawapat never Juni, Sadambinigus. Sasati Sadambu to cover to shave it, but I shed it. I shake it any shiggy, Sani but Timamela said, I shake it in a shiggy. And they get. I said the shame to put Panja to itself. Tango Panja to carry in it, they have weary. You take a tabati have you. Then Yam Shaggy company couldn't get share Marava. Couldn't in Unchat Yamshan and get the Cheto Matan Francis said. Need that consider it.
도저도 남자다 되나 이거 봐. 좀 주디. Yes, in the Nagarjuna, in praise of the Dharmadhatu, when he describes in detail about the 10 boomings, he's basically talking about the stage and basically the descriptive about the aspect of the each boomings. And by applying this in the commentary, Nagarjuna really didn't apply this to the meditative, the part of the meditation. The 9 applications were done through the commentary that Rinpoche is reading. And so Rinpoche said, you're right. In this text, basically it's describing what do you really attain in each booming. What are the if you the benefit of each booming? If you attend this booming, say the first booming, is also described as the supreme joy booming. Why? Because when you attend these, you already overcame so many afflictions. You already overcame so many obstacles and so on. So it's describing. And then when you want to apply that to the 9 applications, and it's telling you where you are in terms of the stage. You're saying when you in the first booming, or when you in the second booming, this is where you are in a part of meditation. And in that, even they go deeper, saying within that subcategory, large, small, large, medium, you are there. And when you're there, meaning at that stage of the practices, you already got at this level of growth, you already attacked these levels of affliction, and which is starting from the most gross to the most subtle, and it's showing an overview of where you are, and of course, and then if you wanted to really know how do we do the meditation, so that we reach there. I asked the question again to Rinpoche. Rinpoche said that comes in other texts. For example, in the Lamrim Chimo, in the section of the inside, the wisdom of the Hakdon Chimo, a meditation on the wisdom, in which then they will describe what you should meditate during the samadhi session, at the meditation session, what you really concentrate and meditate, and what you do the post-meditation stage, or how do you do, and your attainment or your kind of skills of attacking the afflictions really involve both during the meditation and the post-meditation training. And these are trainings done in detail in the Hakdon Chimo, the chapter on the Hakdon Chimo of Lamrim part. So in that way, yes, you're here describing simply the meaning of this, like a path, and why they were given such terms, and what you should expect in this. So an overview rather. Sure.
Okay, so I just want to double check on the 9
levels of stain to be removed.
Right.
I want to check if I understand correctly that the first 6, like up to the 7th booming, like so all the ones that are like the large, medium, large, small, and then the next, all the large and all the medium would be actual afflictions. But then the last 3, right, on the 8th, 9th, and 10th booming, am I correct that those would not be actual afflictions? Those would be obscurations to omniscience.
단도 그런 게 좋아져 봐. 저는 아주 디가는 데서 양 단도 지 권방 고지가 고지가 디시엔도 단도 권방 당권에 조부부터 친분에 딩기 충무부터야. 다 오늘랑 유명 문규 다 방해하지. 아니 미게 충문 친분에 충무부터야. 그러니까 다 집을 주고 방해 되지 그래. No.
문규가 쓰네. 된지구나는 걸 구해라.
로로스.
된지 충분히 사주거리 언니야.
로로스.
어디지?
No, here, if we talk...
반도도 사 된지 첨부 반인데 된지 첨부 다 디사도 제방. 된지 첨부 등반인데 첨부 등제 디사변제 산이버스 사수버스
Perhaps you shouldn't divide between the affliction and the imprint. What happened is, say, on the first booming, it's also attacking the gross level of the afflictions and its imprint. And they move to the next level of attacking or removing, and removing is better. So basically, in the 10 boomings, what we're doing is we're gradually removing the most gross level of self-grasping. And then as you progress, and you small, it's the most subtle, and that's equal to the 10th booming. So each kind of progress you make, you removing the most gross level of affliction and its imprint. Then moving to the second kind of a large medium, it's removing the less gross, right, of the actual affliction and its imprint. So nothing is leaving behind as you remove.
So does that mean like a bodhisattva on the 8th and 9th level still has afflictive emotion?
And the Hindu Zamba, Tangatanda, Sakeva, the Kuba, Sanju Simba Sachola, Digabla, and that you know your rest. Yes. It's the self-grasping, is still there at the 8 and the 9 bodhisattva bhumis. But no kind of manifestation of it. Again, Mungyu di Rabuda Mungyu Tenjikur. Yomarisora. Saben you tengi rumasi ge saben me sun so tengi chimbo di bang yu du zamba chimbo ne chimbo jing zhu wa
chimbo bang yu chimbo saben go bang
saben me sun so chen saben bang ya me
chimbo de man de saben bang go wa
chimbo saben bang ne ne digi
bal man bhiyar tan
de ne nyomong di saben bang mes dinji saben bang mes
인지 첨부 방 인지 된지 첨부 사변 방 그래. 근데 단지 대시를 된지 첨부 등이야리 첨부 중이야리 된지 첨부야리 된지 방만 돼야.
뒤에 저장 남도 뒤에서 가고를 또 아주 삼단다 저라. 등기디 첨부게 아니 간다 지기 녀몬다 사변제 파방이 쓴거 봐. 사변방 차는 전주 이게
첨부 사변방이야. 미시방.
이게 중을 And to understand that, we really have to become very familiar with this terminologies of, I don't know how, here they're translated in the past. When you divide this into 9 abandoning, right, afflictions, the chimbu is the large of the large. Is have you heard the translation? What is it?
Yeah, or big.
Big.
Whatever.
Yeah. So basically, you have to create a vision of self. In the past, I'm just going to use my kind of near ground bit to you. So basically, if your self-grasp looks like this, so this is divided into 3, right? So this is the big, this is the medium, this is small. Right? So as you can see, it's decreasing. So when you, this again divided into 3, right? Big, medium, big, small. And so these are the name of the actual kind of the self-grasping. So this big self-grasping, the big, when you remove that, it's removed also the affliction and the imprint of the big, but it hasn't removed the imprints of the big medium. Does it make sense?
Oh.
But what does big refer to? How does one apply?
So think of it as power or the strength. The strength of the self-grasping. So you divided the self-grasping into 3 strengths.
Understand that. But
I
what
will
is-
control
what is
chimbu
big?
So we have to really think of it as the power. And I'll give you an example. Let's say anger. So the anger, like your kind of the anger is divided into 3 stages. The big, or the most powerful, right? And then medium powerful, and the small powerful. So the most powerful is divided into most, medium, small, right? So when you move, when someone gets really angry, you go really kind of burst and go crazy, and so that's like the most powerful state. And then people don't do that. There's no point of getting angry. Think about it. Think about something, and as you tell the person, maybe he's kind of started doubting whether his anger is rational or not, and by this time you already reduced the most powerful or the peak part of the anger. He already reduced. So that's like the big, and in which you only not only reduce the actual anger a little bit, also the seeds of imprints of that, but you still have the medium big level, right? And so then so think of it as the level of the intensity of. For me, this is what I draw. This is another teacher actually, keep taking, and then I kind of come up with this visual, the intensity. So if you look at the self-grasping, the intensity, being the most powerful to the most subtle level, and then you divide them into different levels, and then what you do is you apply them where this in terms of the path. So by the time you're in the second Bhumi, actually I'm myself grasping this level. You go one more further, it's a little bit less. And so Rinpoche said, think of this as the intensity of that affliction, whether it's self-grasping or anger. Sure.
중국 거스면 열봐.
Slowly.
사계바 고바 주었으면 중국 거스면 디야리.
Slowly.
빠야 말이.
Slowly.
빠야 말이 그 야르베스니 야마르바 란줄 세바르 지키디 콘도 디숑도 야라 콘도 메버바.
Slowly.
콘도 빵버베스니 콘도 빠야 마르바. 세바티키 인디 콘도 몬도 디야 메브차르. 네 콘도 빵버베스니 빠야 마르바 란줄. 콘도 생이디 영어리 그 사베 마바고도 빠야 야마르바. 디테 지버리 그 사계바 고바 주가라 딩딩문도 줘야 말이. 딩지 중딩 숨부티. 딩지 아니 모두 교환해내야 빵버려서 빵이란 말이야. 딩지 빵버던 상계부 중이래. 사변 열어봐.
Yeah.
딩지 모두 교환해내야 빵이란 말이야. 빵은 사변 빵.
So the very important concept for your understanding of this different stage of the Buddhism, as you have to think about it in terms of actual anger or actual affliction, and then the potence of affliction. So in the mostly intense kind of affliction, the chimbu, the big. And when you remove that, you really remove the actual anger, actual self-grasping you removed. But then the potency is still there. When, going back to Laurie's question, the 8, 9, 10, it's called the Bodhisattva Buddha, in which you remove the actual anger from your mind stream. But then the potency is still there, and that equals so you have not abandoned. So when the Tibetans use the term, I was talking to another colleague, saying we really have to look at the context, not so much the literal meaning, just apply immediately the context to it. Abandoning is such important context throughout this discussion. Abandoning is equal to total removal, including the imprint, actual imprint, and the potency. So when somebody abandoned anger, meaning not only a pacified anger, but also check out the root, right? And so in the Bodhisattva Bhumis, the 8, 9, 10, we haven't really abandoned anger. We had removed the actual anger, but we have not abandoned because the potency is still there. And but once we abandoned the self-grasping, the total removal, including the causes, then that equal to liberation or enlightenment. As long as the potency is still there, the potency does not, sometimes actualize it, but still there, and therefore we still need to progress. At the Bodhisattva Bhumi level, the actual anger is removed, but the potency is still there. And then after we remove the potency, then it's called abandoning anger. And once we abandon self-grasping, then it's equal to enlightenment. And so these terms, Rinpoche saying bound, abandoning, and mungyur, which is the actualization, these you have to pay attention, and then because they tell you the very subtle differences.
Three questions looks more simple. The purpose of meditation just to eliminate or remove the afflictions? That's the first question, true or not? Second, the mechanism of that is we meditate and then we see the emptiness. The more profound our concentration, then we see deeper emptiness and we eliminate more subtle afflictions. Is that the main mechanism? Third, there's a counterexample. I read some about, actually many yogis meditated in Himalaya.
That's your third question, right?
The third, right.
Sure.
The next one is the third. Yogis meditated in Himalaya mountains for years. They attain high concentration power. But then it doesn't, they can get angry quite easy too. They can use their spiritual power to curse people or something like that. So why we are talking about using meditation to remove afflictions, but we are talking about today using meditation to remove afflictions. But then there's some examples that yogis doing a lot of meditation and gain high psychic power.
Are you talking about the Buddhist yogis?
No, not Buddhist yogis. Is there a difference?
Okay,
Is that
yes.
because they didn't do, is that because
Yes,
they
yes,
do not
yes.
practice?
You're talking about,
Right.
a new type of yogis.
Other kind of yogis.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hindu or whatnot.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. What is the
And
difference?
so the question is, for the third one,
What is the difference between our meditation and their meditation? So our meditation is able to remove the affliction and anger, and theirs does not seem to be like that.
okay. 그러나 좋았으면 yes. 좋아 당고지 땅가람지 지 관계 미유디 녀모 맵서스. Yes. The first question is the purpose of the meditation for our purpose is that to remove affliction. Yes.
Thank you.
이제는 주안이부터 가르쳤으면 지금 사람도 더 관계외하게 어느 간다 지기 소디 녀모 방향 인도 좀 관계하디 동문이 관계거든. 아주 동문이 관계 좀 동문이 관계지에 딱 간다 지기 동문이 차로 써 스네미도 진짜도 녀모는 직접 간다 차로 파도 세야 거든. Did that? Yes, for your second question, the mechanism of that, meditating on emptiness, as we continue meditation on emptiness, and our strength of the meditation really enables for us to eradicate a more subtle self, the view of the self.
So also, meditation on emptiness means also in samadhi. Within samadhi in meditation, we would tackle the affliction also within samadhi, and also outside the meditation when we are daily life.
Outside.
When we are get angry, for example, when we are in daily life, we then now look okay, it says no, reasonable, and let's be forgiving, something like that. But it seems to me, the Rinpoche mentioned when you are in samadhi, you tackle the affliction within the samadhi also. True? Yeah, there's the question to him.
In samadhi,
Right.
we tackle the affliction.
Right.
And then the question is,
how do you do that? No, I read about that in some sutras. You tackle your affliction within samadhi.
between samadhi.
Within, when you are in deep meditation, you try to see that anger or self-nature or self-grasp is empty. So within the samadhi, you can tackle the affliction. Is that true?
아니, 르무식이 단독
바다디 인상 유근내 주코 동번이 있어야 돼. 차단계에서 유디 끌기에. 김내가 자고서는 아니 차단시도 그래.
Yes. So, as you mentioned, in samadhi, in meditation session, we really try to tackle the self-grasping mind, or we try to tackle that affliction. So how do we do that? For example, if we are dealing with attachment, and how do we really eradicate attachment during meditation session, as our friend mentioned, in samadhi? And what we do is, first of all, using emptiness meditation to tackle attachment for our purposes. Is what we try to do through really using the wisdom of emptiness. We try to start to look at how actually things exist. And because, as I give you example of attachment, we attach to a person or to an object. And the reason we attach to that is first by mistakenly thinking that's real. There's something real there, out there. There's something independent, something which kind of is there without any kind of without any conditions, without any limitations. First, we mistakenly establish that, And then we really attach to that phenomenon. So that's attachment, right? And then how do we really solve that issue? And through meditating on emptiness, we start looking that this, object or person that we projected as a real is actually not the case when we meditate in detail. They are dependent on so many factors, so many parts. And as you penetrate through your kind of insight, you start seeing that realness, that kind of ultimate, like object. There's nothing to point to. When you try to point, where is that kind of real thing that I, projected? And as you go through the different steps of the emptiness, meditation, thinking whether the part is the real, whether the, whether the, inner side of, and you kind of become pointless. That you cannot aim to a thing because everything is you projected. When you go further and investigate, there's nothing really to attach to. So that object is, through emptiness meditation, you disintegrate it. And once you're able to disintegrate it, in your mind, then your mind kind of becomes softened, that attitude of that real thing. Because now you realize that there's no really concrete to attach to. And as a result, you realize that there's nothing concrete about an object. You have nothing to attach to. And so through that, you also soften your attachment. And so that's what we meant by, in a meditation session, we eradicate attachment.
It means in your samadhi,
Yes,
you
in samadhi.
analyze that.
Hmm?
You analyze it that way in your
Yes.
samadhi. Okay. Thank
So
you.
in a meditation session, you analyze the nature of the object. In terms of attachment, you really look at what is that I'm attached to. Is it a person? Where is that person? You investigate in step by step. And as you kind of continue your meditation, and you start seeing, wow, there's nothing really to attach to because everything's I projected. When I try to really pinpoint something, I couldn't. And then, attachment has to have an object to attach to. And when you first disintegrated that object, it left the attachment to nothing to hang on to. So that's one way of really saying in meditation session how we eradicate affliction. And you can apply the same thing in anger. When you're angry at a person, really meditate where is that anger attached to. Where is that person that I'm angry at? And as you, do the analysis and you start seeing there's no person other than either you projected or, what you call this, labeled, designated. Other than the designated by my mind, there's no something really solid or real because everything is in relationship to something else. So we call this dependent origination. Everything is interdependent, everything is conditioned, everything is facilitated, everything is produced. Other than these, there's nothing really solid. And when you're able to just integrate that solidness in object, and then you're able to really soften your affliction. And so that's an example in dealing with anger. And so Rinpoche said that as you meditate on emptiness, analyzing the nature of the thing, and then you say, aha, what I thought wasn't kind of solid and real is not there. As a result, you kind of almost like become awakened. And this is like the, when Rinpoche said, when you sleep, and in your dream, you're so scared because something frightening object is chasing you. Why are you scared? First, you have to establish in your mind that there is this frightening object or person, animal. Your mind established that. And then what your mind did was you got so scared because your mind established yourself and then thinking this is real and you're so scared. And as soon as you're awake, you're so relieved that this is all kind of confusion and created by, our mind. And so once you're awake, you realize that this is just, fabricated. It's like a, created by your mind in confusion, basically dreamlike, right? And when you actually awaken, there's nothing to be scared of. And so, applying this to our colleagues, the meditation, in meditation stage, is as you meditate on an object, and you realize that that object is a creation by our mind. And once you realize that, your attachment or your frightening, mood also softens, because there's nothing to get frightened. And that is like waking up from a nightmare. Once you get through your meditation emptiness, through the analysis and investigation, and you realize, wow, there's nothing, to really, and you're getting that relief, the sense of relief is like being awakened from a nightmare. And from that point of view, in the text, sometimes it's a dream-like, illusion, the dream-like suffering. And we're not saying suffering is a dream, but it is dream-like. When you really see the reality, then there's nothing, to be frightened, because that object of frightening is, dissolved, disintegrated. And so, in essence, we use meditation to tackle affliction, and we meditate on emptiness. What we meant by that is we're really investigating the true nature of the phenomenon. When we're able to see the true nature of the phenomenon, then we consider it like awakening to see the reality.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, one last one, because since you didn't have any chance, so this will be last. Then we'll continue question answer tomorrow afternoon too.
Okay, I can, should I ask?
Sure, you can
Okay.
ask. So this will be last one.
I'm just a little confused about when you're on the second Bunmi, and the afflictions of the first Bunmi have been disintegrated, as well as the impressions.
Yes.
So, and that goes on throughout the Bunmis. But then I thought, I understood also that the 11th Bunmi was where the imprints are dissolved.
Everything's dissolved.
But haven't they been dissolved the imprints been dissolved along the way?
Oh, I see. 이 양자분기 간도 디 너무 방향죠, 봐. 디 sabju가 사당분의 제 sabju부도 다도 너무 첨부 등반 방부 봐. 방이 되잖아. 아니 다양 디르샤 녀몽기 this is maybe I explain like this. We have to use the word abandonable. This is a key thing. Abandonable.
그런 게 제토야지 지그러가. 딱지네야 아니 미디 연대체로 찍는 그게 지약이 이 이거디 체로 그랬더니 거기 내가만 제토 그러가. 그 내가 천주에 되게 내가만 제토 말아. 사당부디 디레 그런 게 뉴지기 직방 그 미시지 그런 거 반통 말아.
And so, basically, we have to think about terms like abandonable. That's one thing. And also capacity. These are two concepts important for you to understand each of the Bumis. So in the first Bumi, there are certain kind of afflictions abandonable in that kind of capacity. The practitioners of the first Bumi cannot abandon all the afflictions it can only tackle certain afflictions. Certain afflictions are abandonable by the practitioners of the first bhumi, right? And you do that as a practitioner of the first bhumi. You abandon whatever is abandonable in that bhumi, then you move to the next bhumi. And in that, okay, in the first bhumi, whatever the abandonable afflictions you abandoned, both its kind of actual and the potency, the impression you removed. And so you did that, whatever things you can do within that capacity. Then you reach to second bhumi. As you have abandoned, these certain afflictions to be abandoned in that first bhumi, you reduce the affliction. At the same time, you strengthen your capacity. So what happens from the first bhumi to the second bhumi is in terms of the affliction, you already tackled a certain gross level of the affliction. As you did that, your strength is also increased in your second bhumi, and you become more powerful. The afflictions become less powerful. Then you deal with the afflictions, in corresponding to that bhumi. If you tackle both the actual affliction and its impression or the imprints, and the afflictions become less, and you also become more powerful, more stronger. Then you move to the third bhumi stage. So if you see a diagram, you just create a two opposing diagram. The afflictions start like a most gross to the most subtle. Your capacity becomes most narrow to most larger. So as you attack the gross level of the afflictions, you're also gaining strength and to go deeper and more profound level of afflictions. And so if you think like this, and then maybe it will help you to understand better the bhumis and how we practice in ease. And Rinpoche said another example I can give you is, say we have 10 people, and each person is corresponding to bhumi. So the first bhumi person becomes the least kind of a strong person, and the second bhumi, the person of the second bhumi, is a little bit more stronger than that person, and as third. So for the Bodhisattva's bhumis, kind of most strong person, right? And the practitioner of the first bhumis cannot tackle the problems relating to the 10, the 8 and 9. Only the Bodhisattva's bhumi, they can tackle that, right? And so to reach there, you have to go through each bhumis. And then I asked Rinpoche, and he confirmed that the 10 bhumis, sometimes there's like a cause and effect relationship. You go through the first bhumis, and that resulted you in going to the second bhumis. And so thinking cause and effect is also help you to understand the concept of the bhumi. Or you can think of 10 different people, each have a different strength. And through that, and then having established that kind of a concept, and then you can go kind of more say, the first practitioners of the bhumis, dealt with the afflictions in the first bhumi, and its causes as well. Then move to the second stage of the bhumi, and its actual affliction and causes. And then you jump to the third. Maybe through this kind of explanation or thinking will help you to understand the bhumis better.
What about the imprints, though?
Rinpoche said the imprints of the first, the afflictions are divided into the bhumis. Let's divide the afflictions across the bhumis. The first affliction, the actual affliction, as its imprint, it's removed. And so when you move to the second bhumis, there is no affliction of the first imprint is left there. It's already removed. Now you're dealing with a different kind of affliction, much more subtle.
And what is the 11th bhumi you said?
By the time the 11th bhumi, you totally removed everything.
Everything's gone.
Yes, because in the 10th bhumis, being the most subtle, in the 10th you basically removed everything, and the 11th both the actual affliction, its potency, impulse, everything equal to enlightenment. I'm sorry. Keep going.